we go. Can y'all read that? And yep, there is an AED on site. I forgot where I was. So I'm going to start again and cut all that other nonsense out of the way. I'm using a 3-foot straight edge because I don't have a 4-foot. You said, but you're only measuring 3 feet. Well, I've got to measure 4 feet, and if it's all within tolerances, I can use this, measure this 3 feet, and then scoot it down, and it should continue on out. Sort of like when you're leveling a planer or a long instrument, you get on one end and then you level it as you go down. This works. But how do you measure it using a straight edge without blowing it up and everything? Well, that's where our old friends from the 60s and 70s come in. The old zigzag. Now, I never used these for wacky weed, and the little bit I did smoke in my life, I did try some of these because I grew up in West Texas where everybody rolled their own back in the old days. These are cigarette papers. They're still around because people smoke that wacky weed. But they've got another claim to fame. These little papers, when you get them out and you tear off the little strip on one edge of them that some of them come with, the little blue edge, these don't have any. These are perfectly the same all the way across. These are perfectly 1/1000th of an inch thick. And what I'm going to do is put it underneath this straight edge. And I'm going to see if it'll pull out all the way down. If it does, it'll show me that there's high spots and low spots on this plane. My goal is to make it pull evenly all the way down. And then I'll scoot it down and try again. So let's get started. This has all cooled down since last night. So far, so good. Only 3.5 more feet to go. Usually on these things, the ends are higher, kind of concave, and a lot of that has to do with how this bit hits this end. It can jump up some and be thicker down here. That's why I've gone to using a really sharp, it's almost a neutral angle when it comes through here on the bit, and it does really nice. Well, so far, okay. I don't know if y'all are seeing all that really close. But all down the length of this paper will not pull out. If there was over 1/1000th of an inch variation, the paper would pull out because this would sit on a high spot, and in the low spots, it would bridge over those and be too much for the paper. So I now have 3 feet that measures really nice. Got a foot to go, and this is where it could screw up if this was higher. So what I'm going to do is move the straight edge down to the edge of it there. If this is higher, it will mean I will have a void in this spot here. If it's lower, I'd have a place on the end where this paper wouldn't pull through. So I'm going to start down on this end and work that way. How about that? All the way down. That tells me this 4-foot straight edge is within a thousandth of an inch all the way down. You know, if you had a half a thou piece of paper, you could do it that way too. This side is officially finished. Now it's ready for hand scraping. So what we're going to do is now switch our attention to this side right here and plane it off. The lady at the little store looks at me funny when I go in and buy these. I ought to show her this video so she won't think I'm a hippie or something. We're going to start taking this apart. You can see how easy these hold down brackets are. While I'm doing this, I'm going to respond to some of the comments I read last night. One man replied that I could use this planer to grind that 10EE. And he's absolutely right. I could. I have a grinding spindle that I could adapt to this head, and I could make a tray for it to sit in and just go through all of that. But that tray sitting on this table is going to involve putting some holes through the tray to be able to mount that bed to. And when there's a hole, there's a possibility of a leak. I don't want anything contaminating the oiling system on this table. And frankly, the reason is cost. I just bought another 5-gallon pail of 32 oil today, and it was right at $103. This sucker uses 60 gallons of oil. And if I contaminate that, that's up to about $1,400. That's one reason I haven't put a grinding head on this thing. Yes, you can grind it dry, and I could spray it as I'm going along. And if I absolutely had to, I would. But I don't absolutely have to. This machine gives me a fine surface that I can hand scrape very easily. This machine is no longer made anymore because other machines took its place, such as big bed mills. This machine can only do linear motion. A bed mill can come down here, then go sideways. That, in my mind, is one of the main reasons these went out of production. The ability to make the bigger mills came along. Now, they are bigger grinders too, but a grinder can't do what a planer does. You're just seeing me just doing one surface here. But if I wanted to, I could put a step into this. I could put a slot into this. You know, you don't grind a lot of material off of things like this. And I've been having to take a 1/4 inch of these off to get started, you know, because it's a rough casting. This cuts through all that and leaves me a very nice surface that I can plane, or excuse me, hand finish. A grinder, yeah, you can make holes in the wheels and put forms into them and do things like that with them, but they just don't take metal off like a planer can. One of the things that I'm hoping to start doing, if I can find some metal for it, is making different sets of parts for my 17-ton hydraulic press. It's got a 4-foot toolbar that I can make all kinds of shapes of tools, you know, crow's feet and everything else for using the press out of it. Can't do those on a grinder. I could do them on a big mill, but don't need to. I got this. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't ground it. And the other reason is I'm trying to develop a machine that can grind that 10EE down to acceptable limits without having to tear it all apart. I could take it all apart, put it on a truck, send it up to Commerce Grinding and have them grind it. It's going to cost a lot of money. 7 years ago, they were charging $1,100 to do a Bridgeport mill table, just the table. So I would rather come up with a tool that I can use to work on different lathes, more than one. And so if my grinding sled idea works out, I can put it on any type of lathe that comes through here. And you too. So by trying to develop the grinding sled for that 10EE, I can use it on different projects, not just that mill. If I can make this work well, which I don't see any reason I can't, I can use it on that machine. I can use it on a South Bend, a Monarch that comes through, anything I want to. It'll be a easier method of making the rail straight. I think it's worthwhile. I've had people yell at me telling me I was going to ruin that machine. Oh my God, you're going to ruin. Folks, it's already ruined in that sense of the matter. It's got 7/1000ths of an inch of bed wear. The spindle was bent. We've corrected all of that. Now I've just got a few little things like the electronics to get straight. I've already got the main motherboard for it. I'm looking for another board that I need to control that motor. That's all been proven out that it'll work. The main hurdle right now is getting that bed to where I can use it. And you want to be honest? I can use it right now. I've been using old worn out lathes longer than Don's been alive. Well, not really, but you get my point? Being a machinist is different than just walking up to a machine, turning a dial for 0.02 of an inch and watching it cut. There's a lot more involved in it, and a good machinist can make that old machine turn perfect parts. It's just harder. And I don't have anything better to do than make the darn thing work right, so that's what I'm going to do. Off my high hat, let's get this over here. Remember, wipe things down with your hands. And what I'm doing is I'm now using this surface to register in my V-blocks to do this surface. Everything's clean. You slide it up against this this stop down here. And now, once I clamp it down over here, I can start doing this one. So, I'll bring you close up, shut up, and do it. Now, I modified these V-blocks by drilling a hole in them so that I can put a stud in there and clamp down into this area. It's hard to hold these things, but that works. Had to make some of these little clamps right here so I could do this. Then I use some blocks to give it a place to clamp onto up there. Gotta get creative sometimes. When I took it apart, I put everything in one spot for what I took apart, so I didn't have to go looking for it. And frankly, I love these cheap 1, 2, 3 blocks for setups. And then I have a couple sets of 2, 4, 6 blocks that make it nice also. Now I find I can put a little more pressure on here because I got this whole cross section and I'm just pushing down on it in these spots and it works well. Do we have to play with the old sock again? Oh, look. That dog laid a toy. Hey, you. Do you know how to play with a toy? Can you play with a toy? Oh. Is this your only toy? No, you've had other toys. You tear them up too fast. Ready? Whoa. Arr, arr, arr. Charge. Oh, we missed it. We missed it. I got it. I got it, boss. I got it. Oh, you're tough. You're a tough dog. Arr. You'll tear this little toy up. Arr. What? Rosie the dog. How old are you, Rosie? 2.5. And all I've got is a pink dog toy to play with. Well, I saved you a little bit of talking. Could get these Dawn lean guards out of the way. They've worked very well. In fact, they've worked so well, it's kept him out of the shop for about 3 months. I've got it set up, and I've got my tool bit as far over as I dare before it starts hitting the hold down clamps on this edge. So what I always do to just make it a little bit more safe is I put this block right here. And that keeps me a positive stop. As far as I want it to go. Put the lean guards back up. Ought to put one on here. You think you'd lean on this? Just have to put it there. There we go. I saved you a lot of time. I've warmed up the machine, got the tool bit to where it's starting to touch. It looks like it kind of curved up a little bit on the front edge, which, you know, that's the thinnest part. That's where it usually moves. But we're ready to start finish planing this side now. I want to get closer. It's only $10 more a seat to get closer. All right. Give you a little bit better close-up. Got this edge here against this stop block. These are holding down the V blocks. We got one on either side of it. Then I'm using this to touch right here and hold this down inside that V. You got one on either end and the same setup down here. All that stuff in the back is when I go up vertical on them. And I tell you, sometimes when you're playing a lot of different things, you need a lot of different hold down fixtures. Like these fixtures. These are made for a Bridgeport table. They bolt on the end of it so I can bolt it down to the table. And then you need all kinds of stuff. There's some big tool holders over there. And change out. Right now I've got it set up to where I can get into this part right here without too much problems. And a friend of mine did that bit for me a long time ago, and still use it today. Then you need different kind of hold downs. Then you got to make some sometimes. Like these are what we're probably going to use on the rails to hold it down. And these are the same kind of thing that'll reach through and grab one of the different straight edges like that needs higher clearance. And then, you know, you got these standard ones. Poor old Kennedy box, I got it at an auction, and it sure is weighted down, but it's held up for a long time. And the different stud lengths you got to have. It's just always something you need, and then you got to make what you don't have. Even store-bought sets up there, you know, just a little bit of everything. This is a spring pass coming back. I'm going to take one more spring pass manually. Tells me I'm as far over as I need to go so that this doesn't hit this or this. And guess what? I still don't trust it. So we're going to come by here very slow. We can go back to full speed. Just barely touching. It's not digging in to get a big bite. That's why it's squealing. Most of that cut is where it's coming onto the workpiece down there. Right there. the bit picks up when it hits the work. What I have to do, I'm moving this a little bit different every time so it goes by. This is the automatic feed. Go that way to pull it this way to go that way. This goes up and down for this feed. You might ask me why there is a bolt and a bracket there holding that in place. Well, one day I automatically was changing this and hit that a little bitty bit. It threw the straight edge about 4 feet off the table the next time it came by. So that's why there's a hard fixture to keep that from ever doing that again. Keep that wrench up there like that to remind me that the column is locked. Somebody broke it way up there one time, and I got a sneaky suspicion that's why it happened. All right, let's see what we have here. This surface. Get a vacuum cleaner and clean all this stuff up. If I do it just right, it'll be so heavy Don can't lift it. Oh, I like Don. God knows why, but I like Don. This disease is going around, and flu and everything just really screws up our community, doesn't it? All right. There's a close-up of the surface that I get by planing, using the way I plane. You can't hand scrape that in, I'm sorry. Well, I think that's a pretty nice surface. And the next step is going to be letting it cool down. I mean, you can't tell any heat in it. Remember, a thousandth of an inch, you put your hand on it, it can grow. In fact, when I used to make telescope mirrors, I would take my finger and push it on a piece of glass, telescope mirror, and they're this thick. Put it there, do a polishing lap, and then look at it under a Fulcock test, which measures shadows. You know, you think a thousandths is hard. Try a millionths. And you could see where when I put my finger on the glass, it expanded the glass and made a hill rise. And then you polish it, and it cut that hill off, and then it relaxed. Now you got a hole. Well, metal can do that too, not to the same extent or the tolerance as glass will, but you got to be careful. Heat is your enemy when you're measuring things. What I'm going to do now is take and just file these edges down. Then I'm going to let it set and cool for 2 or 3 hours. And then we'll run the straight edge test on it again, and we'll see how much work we have to do then. Be careful these little edges. Now, of course, when you're hand scraping, you got to watch your edges a lot. Because you're actually moving material, and you've always got to keep a little bevel on these edges. You don't want them razor sharp. But that'll come down, and I'll keep on going over it. I hope that this is the last operation we've got to do on this thing, except for scraping it. The time will tell. I'll be back in a couple hours. Well, it's cooled down for about 3 hours now. I'll wipe it off with my hand here. I like working with a cast iron. A lot of people don't because it's dirty. It's true, your hands look like crap. The bottom of your wash sink is always rusty. But it cuts really nice when you get through the hard stuff. All right, let's see what we got here. Same procedure as before. I guess you guys can't see. I'm sorry. That 3 feet is good. Now I'm going to slide it down and check the last foot of it. Remember, if this is okay, is just by extension coming on out here. If this is high, there'll be a hole right in here. So that's how we get by with this. I like it. What does that mean? It means I'm through planing this edge. I'm going to take it off, and then I'll take and run a wire wheel on a Dremel tool or a Milwaukee tool, clean up the rust, neutralize the rust, paint it with the paint I like, and then it'll be on to scraping it. But even more important is I can now clear off all the fixtures off this table and start planing the rails. Thanks for watching. Rails are coming up next. Bye-bye.